Hello, everyone. Welcome to our channel, Our Scientology Stories Peeling the Onion. My name is Mark Fisher, and I'm here with Janice Gillum Grady and our guests, Scott and Karry Campbell. And this is part two of our interview with Scott and Karry, and they're telling their story about how basically they were locked up by Scientology on the free winds and then were sent to the pack base. And we're going to continue this story because this is part two, and you're going to want to hear this part. Anyway, if you haven't seen part one, you can watch it before this one, okay? Because it's basically we reached a point where the story where we would break it up. But you're welcome to watch part one first and then watch part two. But we want to let you know that this is part two, and we're going to carry on. And it's a pretty horrific story, as if you've seen part one, as you know. But there is a good ending to it, and we just want to give you that heads up in advance, right, Janice?
Yeah, hold on to your seats and make sure you got some alcohol for this one.
Yeah, you got your margaritas. I've got my iced tea.
I've still got my margarita here, and it'll keep me calm through the story. I hope.
I have water.
Well, there you go. Hey, yeah, that's totally fine. Anyway, to recap where we had left off on part one, okay? Basically, Scott was in the RPF in PAC, and he was having a mental breakdown, basically a psychotic issue. It had been for months, and he had been locked up on the free winds and then eventually sent to the base in California, and they kept him under guard and locked up there as well. He'd lost a lot of weight. He just was not getting better. They were drugging him, and things were not looking very good for Scott. And basically, they got to the point where they decided to route Scott and Karry out of the Sea Organization, and then they basically relocated them up to Karry's mother's and stepfather's house. Is that right, Karry?
Yes.
In California, not far from Los Angeles. And that's where her stepfather or mother, right, noticed that Scott was not coming around and that he did not look good. Is that right?
Yeah, my stepdad was like, what in the world did you do to Scott? You know?
Right.
And he was a Scientologist.
Yes. Yep,
right.
Go ahead.
So so the response came back from the Church of Scientology. Okay, bring him back and we'll fix it. So, they said, oh, we have to go back, which was horrifying to me. I was relieved to be away from them, regardless of what my mental condition was, but nevertheless, I was like, all right, well, whatever, let's trust the process here. So they brought me back. It was Karry's mom and stepdad and me and Karry, and they brought us down and told us to go to the backside of the PAC building, which is where the security headquarters is. They call it the Horseshoe because there's a horseshoe-shaped driveway there.
Yep.
And so they brought me there, and they had a couple of vehicles there, one of which was a minivan. And so they had me get in the minivan in the back, and they had two guys. One of them was a security guard from the Free Winds named Kevin Popovich, and the other one was a security guard named Ben Stringer. And so they had me in the back, and we took off to wherever. They didn't tell us where we're going or anything. Took off to parts unknown. So after some hours,
and was Karry with you?
Karry was in the other vehicle.
Okay.
But yeah. So and by the way, I didn't even know Karry was in the other vehicle until at some point we pulled over, and I'll tell you the reason why we pulled over is I was freaking out about where are we going, and I kicked out one of the side windows of the minivan. I was just going to dive out of it, even though we were moving, Well, they immediately stopped.
And then you're talking about when you didn't know where you were going, we're not talking about going across town in Los Angeles. You were going far away, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you,
it was
Yeah.
a long drive, and you didn't know where you were going, but it was a long drive.
Yeah, it was some hours away at this point, you know. So then after that, they zip tied my hands behind my back, and they had one of the security guards back with me.
oh, a
Well,
real kidnapping.
yes, it was
Yes.
basically kidnapping because where they wound up taking us was to New Mexico, and it was a public Scientologist, not a staff member. It was her ranch, and it was way out in the middle of nowhere. It was a place called Reserve, New Mexico. That I remember there was we went past like an Indian trading post at a junction of roads there and stuff. And the actual address of the place was Eagle Rock, Apache Creek, Reserve, New Mexico, which I found out later when this was all over, you know, when I looked into it. But so we got there, and it's a ranch that had cows and chickens and ducks and turkeys there. And then there was a cabin, just a little 2-room cabin. That was about a 5-minute walk away across the cow pasture field, you know. And that's where
5 minutes away from the main house.
5 minutes away from the main house, yeah.
Okay.
And that's where they took me. So Kevin and Ben were like my security guards there. And just to reiterate, I was like emaciated and weak, you know. And
Right.
these two guys were, Kevin was a black belt in Aikido, and which is basically redirecting force and submission holds and things like that. And then Ben was a black belt in Taekwondo, which is just basically really hard punches and kicks, you know. So anything that I did, like trying to get away from them or escape or doing anything other than what they told me to do, was met with violent force, you know.
Now, did you know that Karry was in the house?
Actually didn't until,
Okay.
you
Later.
know, I asked one of them about it, and because I saw her out, she was like feeding the turkeys or something, you know. And I said, "What's Karry doing? Why can't I see her?" And they said, "Carrie's in the main house. She's making the food and she's doing the shopping and everything." Right.
And Karry, what did they tell you they were doing?
Again, it was supposed to be like no communication because he was still in the psychotic break. And that's LRH policy, is basically to not be verbally talking to him because he's not getting exactly what you're saying. Something like that, right?
Right.
As far as I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I did at some point find out that she was over there. But otherwise, they had me mostly just confined to the cabin. You know, if we did go anywhere, any little distance away, and I tried to run, you know, they'd tackle me and hurt me and stuff and bring me back. You know, choked me out, smothered me unconscious, things like
You mean
that.
this happened? This actually happened?
Yeah, that's what they would do to try to subdue me. You know, they're basically, we're trying to make it so that I wouldn't try to escape. You know.
So you were
basically,
trying
they
to
put you in this
escape.
cabin and you were trying to escape.
Yeah, whenever I saw an opportunity, I would try to run from them. But by this point, you know, this is so this started in like July of '93, and by this point it's like April of '94, right?
Oh, wow. Nearly a year this has been going
So-
on.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, so this whole thing continues, and you know, they weren't doing the handling that they were supposed to do in that situation where somebody is is in a psychotic break. They were doing stuff that was making it continue, and was just prolonging the torment against me for whatever reason. And at some point, just to give you an idea of the cabin had one main room, and then there was a short entryway and a like a bedroom. And so that's all it was. There was no plumbing, no electricity, nothing. There was an outhouse a short distance away, so that was, I could use that.
The house had electricity and a toilet.
Yeah.
But it's just this cabin that didn't.
Yeah, the house that Karry was in had all of that stuff, but so, what would happen was when somebody would go to get the food, either Kevin or Ben would go to get the food, and they would have to leave, so I would be left with one of them, so they put the couch in front of the exit door, and and the windows were boarded up and all of that stuff. There was no way to get out otherwise, so my exit was barred, and one time I thought, I'm going to try to get away when one of these guys are gone, So Kevin was the smaller and not as strong of the two. So when Ben went off to get the food, it was like right at dinner time, or it was still light, getting toward dusk. I tried to escape, and made it actually out past the door, and we were outside, and Kevin wanted to fight, and so kind of directed my attention to that instead of me just trying to escape once again. And so I was like, oh, you want to fight? Okay. And he hit me right in the solar plexus and knocked the wind out of me, but I've had that happen before numerous times. So I kept fighting him. Well, Ben came out of the cabin and he had the food, and Kevin started yelling for help. So Ben just dropped all the food and came running out there, and they got me, and they had like a bundle of this clothesline, like laundry cord. It's probably about 3/8 of an inch in diameter. And they tied me up with my knees and my wrists and my neck all drawn up together. And they wrapped duct tape around my face, not over my eyes, but just around my mouth and nose and everything.
Your nose, your mouth and nose?
Yeah.
How could you breathe?
How'd you breathe?
I could breathe just past whatever space out of my nose.
Oh.
But I mean, it was extremely distressing, especially since I grew up with asthma and allergies, my whole childhood. But then they took me and threw me into that little entryway that led to the bedroom. And they got a piece of plywood that they had, from having, boarded up the windows and stuff, with a full sheet of plywood. And they nailed that up over the door. Right. So I'm in there and I'm on my side, laying on my side. Right. And if I relax my knees, my legs for even a second, the ropes around my neck would start strangling me, So I knew that I had to relieve that choking pressure somehow. So I scooted over so my back was against the wall of the little hallway. And that relieved it for a minute, but I knew that I couldn't maintain that for long because I had to keep my knees pulled up towards me, So I knew that I had to sit up. So I had to get back away from the wall to be able to try to heave myself into a sitting position, you know. And so I had to try that several times before I was successful. One of the times I almost passed out. If I would have passed out, I would have been dead, you know.
Did you think
Because
that
my
they
body
were
would have
trying to
relaxed and it would have just strangled me, you know.
did you think they were trying to kill you? I mean, what was going through your head at that time when they tied
I
you up
didn't,
like
I
that?
was 100% focused on the situation. I wasn't thinking about them at all. Afterwards, I did, but finally I got into a sitting position and I was able to scoot with my back up against the wall and have my feet planted on the floor. So that way I could keep the choking pressure relieved. And then I just started working the duct tape down against the ropes, you know. Finally, I got it down. And then I started working on the ropes with my teeth to loosen them and get the knots to untie and stuff. That took me all night, you know.
Wow.
Well, meanwhile, while I was in there and that was going on, Karry had come out and she saw the food, the plates and everything laying there on the ground, and she was like, "What the hell?" So she came out to the cabin, and I'll let her tell, you know, what they told her when she got there.
So
Okay.
basically, I noticed that normally they would come for seconds. You know, they would come out to get more food because when you're in a psychotic break, you use up a lot of calories. You know, your mind's just going, right? And it's just like, that's just what happens.
Yeah, I couldn't gain any weight. It was just all
Right.
negative, you know. It's like your body's just in overdrive, you know. So, anyways, go ahead.
So I noticed that they didn't come out for seconds. And normally it's like half an hour, 45 minutes, they would do so. So I was, you know, preparing for more food to be delivered, and nobody came, and nobody came, and nobody came. And I was like, okay, what's going on? So I went out there and I noticed, you know, that there was food on the floor, on the ground. And I went over to the cabin, you know, 5 minutes away. And I said, okay, guys, nobody came for seconds. And how are you guys doing? You know, you know, when you're in this situation and you've trusted these people for a long time, you know, they're here
Yeah.
to help you. You know, that's the whole purpose of Scientology, is to help people, right?
Right.
So you're not thinking, oh, they're doing something wrong to Scott, or I didn't know any of this mistreatment until after we came back, and we, you know, your mind goes, and anyway, it's just like,
Well, and you got in Scientology at a young age, right?
oh
In
yeah,
other words, like
seven.
that's pretty much all you knew, right?
Right. So I
Yeah,
went
but
out there to find out, you know, why haven't they come for extra food? And, you know, because I knew that, you know, Scott likes, you know, seconds and whatever. Anyway, I noticed that the plywood was over where I knew that they kept Scott. That was the first time actually that I had been that far over there, because they wanted me to stay away. And anyway, they're like, "Ah, Scott's fine. He's sleeping. We don't want to disturb him." And I'm like,
behind the plywood.
yeah, I'm like, behind the plywood? What do you guys? It'd be easier to get a door, you know?
Right.
So it didn't make any sense to me. And anyway, I went away, but I was just,
There was no door on the entryway before that. It's just
I
an open.
understand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
So it wasn't plywood and a door. It was just
No,
plywood to keep
just
you in
plywood.
there.
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, it was very weird because it didn't make any sense how they would get more food to him or whatever. It's just
How about going to the
something wasn't
bathroom?
right.
Anyway, so they sent her away, you know. Meanwhile, I'm in there in this life and death struggle, you know. So finally, I get the ropes off of me, and bear in mind, this took like most of the night, to get out of it.
Yeah.
And after that, I was just in there, just pacing around quietly. And when I was just filled with like adrenaline and terror and rage too, and at some point when it started to get light, I thought, I'm going to go confront these fuckers, and I kicked that piece of plywood off of the entryway, and that guy Ben was over there sleeping on the couch by the door, and he just sat bolt upright, and I said, listen, motherfucker, you trying to kill me? I said, if you're trying to kill me, do it now. Otherwise, you might wake up with a butter knife buried in your chest, And he knew that the food, would come out with silverware and stuff like that. And
Butter knife.
So then he got up off of the couch and came at me and just blasted me in the face as hard as he could,
Wait, he hit you in the face? You
me.
mean with a fist? He punched you.
He punched me in the face. Not only that, punched me so hard that it cracked one of my teeth.
Oh, God.
Right, which I eventually lost. There's an implant in there now. But, it almost knocked me out, but it didn't quite, The room got a little dark, but I took it, And then I got right back in his face, and I was like, okay, motherfucker, you going to kill me now? Do it. Let's do it, And then he started yelling for Kevin, Kevin was over getting the breakfast food, and and then Kevin came running and brought and I saw him when he came running, and when he dropped the tray and everything, there was only 2 plates on it,
Two plates. That means they weren't going to feed you?
They weren't going to feed me. They were just going to leave me in there until whatever. I don't know what was going to happen. But so he came and he actually diffused the situation, because when he got there, he was just like, Scott, sorry, and he apologized to me. And, and I was like, you're sorry? You almost fucking killed me. I could have died in there, He's like, I'm sorry, we shouldn't have done that, and so all that stuff. So that kind of diffused the situation. And then I kept telling them that I wanted to see Karry, right? And they wouldn't let Karry come out there, but they had the auditor come out there. And the auditor, when I told her that, she said, we can't do that, but you can write a KR, a knowledge report. So she let me write up a knowledge report, and I wrote up the whole thing and more, other stuff that had happened before. And that got sent to the ship. And then we got a response back from the ship. And
who with the ship? What do you mean? You said you sent it to the ship?
We got sent to the public MAA on the ship. The public
MAA is a master at arms.
Yeah, because I wasn't in the Sea Org anymore, right?
Oh, right. So you're a public of the ship now. That's so ridiculous.
That was the last org that I was with, whatever their rationale was.
Yeah.
There's more details about that too. Actually,
one of my
friends tried to get a high horsepower person highly placed in the organization to help me one time, and that. But anyways, it doesn't matter right now. But so then Kevin, the security guard, got to respond to it, whatever their inquiry was. And she let me see that too. And he mischaracterized the whole thing. Oh, Scott likes to wrestle and roughhouse, and whatever that was, just nullified whatever I said,
Right.
And, but I knew that I had to get the truth to somebody. So then I kept insisting to see Karry. over and over again to both of those guys and to the auditor. And then they let Karry come out and see me. So Karry came out, and we just went into that room, that bedroom, and I had her lay down on the floor next to me. And because this guy, Ben, was standing, right in the doorway watching, and I just put my hands over her ear, and I said, Karry, you have to listen to me. I said, look at my wrists, look at my neck, look at my knees. I said, they almost killed me. They tied me up and almost killed me. And I said, if you don't do something, they are going to kill me. It's escalating. Their behavior is escalating towards that, So I said, can you do something? And she just said, yes. She just nodded, looking at me, nodded at me. And then that was it. And then she left after that, and I'll let her tell you what happened.
Yeah, what happened, Karry?
How she helped.
So basically, I contacted, I wrote up a report, and then I to the case supervisor for his auditing, Griffey Blythe, and I said, they're gonna kill Scott. We need some other people out here. What can we do? This is not okay at all. He's not gonna get through this. He's not gonna survive. He's gonna be dead soon. So we need to do something. So I don't know what she did, but within a couple of days, we had a whole different bunch of people here that loved Scott, that wanted him to get better, that showed up, and the two bad guys went away.
Right.
Now,
just so people know, you wrote to Griffey Blythe.
Yes.
Which is Biddy Miscavige's sister.
Yeah.
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 And
And
she did something, and then they sent new people and replaced those two
They
guys.
got rid of those two guys. And they sent two friends of mine from the ship. And then another one was a security guard, Roy Rodriguez from the PAC base. And they were all friends of mine. And they were nice to me. They loved me. Shit, we'd go hiking up on top of the mesa, and then, just here's the upshot of what happened with the two security guards, Ben Stringer and Kevin Popovich. The next assignment that Kevin Popovich went on to was he became David Miscavige's personal bodyguard. He took over for John Purcell, who was David's brother-in-law.
That's so dangerous. Jesus.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, to me, the association with Miscavige in this whole thing is really strong, But so then after that, they actually did do the PAB 6 handling. PAB stands for, it's PAB Professional Auditors Bulletin Series 6.
Right.
And it's called the Introspection Rundown. And what it does is it's supposed to take someone who's in a psychotic break in that state of mind and get them out of it. And so only then did they actually do that. And I'm telling you, it worked like magic. It worked like magic. And we got back to the incident that triggered it, which was my grandmother dying. And then all of the stuff that preceded that led up to that point. And when I got the end phenomena, the result of the what you're supposed to get from it, it was like you turned off a light switch. It was just over. I was just back to normal. And then they kept us there for another probably couple weeks, just to make sure.
Were you
that it was a stable result.
Were you kept separated, or you were up to be with Karry?
At some point, they let me go back up to the main house and be with Karry.
Yeah.
Okay,
for
good.
Probably the last maybe week or 10 days or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when everything was fine. They realized everything was fine. And one of the criteria was they were weighing me every day. And when they saw,
put weight back on.
yeah, when they saw that I was starting to put weight back on, then it was like, okay, you can go now. You know, so then we were allowed to leave. And I actually drove a bunch of the people back in one of the vehicles, you know. So, you know, it was three guys, you know, security guys, Karry, an auditor, and who else came back? Was that all?
I think that was it.
That was it at that time. At one time they had.
You drove from New Mexico back to LA?
We drove from New Mexico back to LA. We brought everybody back to the pack base, and then we went down to my mother's house down in Newport Beach.
And they left you alone at that point.
They left us alone at that point.
Because you were no longer in the Sea Org, you had already routed out, and they basically said, okay, now you can go on your own, and you went down to your mother's place. Okay, let me ask you a question. Go ahead. No, go ahead. And then what happened after that?
Then I, you know, knew that we needed to get jobs and stuff, and I applied for a job down at San Onofre at the nuclear power plant, and got hired right away. So within a month of coming back, I was working at a nuclear power plant. To give you an idea of the qualifications that, you know, one of the criteria you need to pass in order to work at a nuclear power plant is a 500 question psychological examination. And
you passed.
It was totally fine. And I got hired there, and I worked there for almost 3 years, you know. And then
you never had any problems after that?
No.
In terms of, you know, the psychosis and all that?
No. I haven't had PTSD symptoms, you know, which I had to seek help from a psychologist.
Right, I bet. Now, let me ask you a question, if you don't mind. So how long did it take for you to find out exactly what happened behind the scenes, or did you ever find out, like, who was overseeing or who told these guys that they were going to watch you? And you know, because something like this, I'm sure Office of Special Affairs were notified, and they were probably monitoring it. And in that time period, Marty Rathbun would have been, you know, over in RTC in charge of overseeing OSA, and any type of, this type of situation would have been reported up lines, because that was one of the things that Miscavige was concerned about, is that he did not want, you know, something to happen that would could cause bad public relations for Scientology. And this also was before, for our viewers, before the Lisa McPherson case that happened, you know, just a few years later in Clearwater, where it was a similar type of situation, and she ended up dying.
Right.
Right. Well, the legal ramifications are amazing that would have come out of this.
Yeah. Well, so, you know, the people that did know about it and stuff, but didn't know what was actually occurring, was Tom Martiniano at the Flag Bureau level, Bruce Hines at the senior CSN's office. Marty said that he found out about it, and he said that he didn't have anything to do with it. And he was actually surprised that Owen Starkey would do something like that, because, you know, he said Owen was somebody that would normally fight against doing something like that to someone.
Right.
But he said it had to be someone else that got him to do it.
Your speaker.
Mark, your mic is off.
Sorry, Misha was making noise. I said the time frame we're talking about was 93 and then into 94. This New Mexico part was in 1994, right?
Yeah. So the whole thing was probably like from July 93 to like October of 94, something like that.
Over a year, you were basically confined.
Yeah. It's like 15 months or something like that.
Now, the
Wow.
only reason I mention that is because that time period was after the IRS tax exemption, and Marty Rathbun actually blew, and they had to recover him. So he may not have been over OSA at that time period, because they recovered him and sent him to the ship.
He told me when he found out about it was when they sent him to the ship, because
But
before they put Marty on the read it, drill it, do it briefing course on the ship with Greg Wheelhair, they had Marty do a tech inspection roundup. You guys know what that is, of course, where he was looking for, major problems in the delivery of the Scientology technology, and he found out about it at that time.
now, this might be a stupid question.
Just to give you a history on this subject, somebody that we both know, you guys and us know, and a third person that we know that was in the Office of Special Affairs had Black Dianetics done to him on the orders of Norman Starkey.
Oh,
I don't want to
okay.
mention the
That's all right. We don't need to go into that.
and stuff like that.
I just wanted to find out. So you over the years, you basically just carried on, but then you did get a chance to talk to Marty afterwards, when he left and came out. And like you said, he said he didn't find out about it till later.
Right.
Okay.
So, when Tom Martiniano told me that they were trying to figure out what was going on and why it was taking so long, because they'd done the same thing on other people that had a psychotic break, and it was only a matter of a week or two that they reversed it, And so why did it take 15 months with me? And it was really that they were just trying to destroy me, to utterly destroy my sanity or get me to commit suicide, something like that, And I can tell you the after effects of it was that, we were basically shell shocked. We didn't trust anybody. We didn't trust the outside world. We didn't trust Scientology, anything.
Right.
So it took a long time before we spoke to the FBI and stuff. And by that time, the statute of limitations had run out on what happened. And that's what they count on. They know that that's what's going to happen,
So you talked to the FBI around 2009 or whatever, when you talked to the FBI? Yeah.
About 2009.
Well,
I
it's
still
like
have
when
the
you're peeling
numbers of the people that I talked to.
When you're peeling the onion, it takes a while to get away from it and realize, oh, I should do something about this.
Yeah.
But then the statute of limitations are up by that point.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, that's what happens. It's just like you're shot from a cannon into outer space. You just feel, overwhelmed and disconnected from everything, And then when we did start speaking out about it, was on Marty's blog, Marty Rathbun's blog. And as soon as we did that, Karry's entire family, Scientology family, her stepdad, mom, brother and sister, all disconnected from us. They're still disconnected from us to this day.
Yeah.
Until they missed their, it has a good ending because we went on to have children, within 2 years of coming back, getting out of the Sea Org and away from Scientology, Karry got pregnant. And so we had our first daughter in 1998, And
this photo is after you left the Sea Org, right?
Yeah. This is after we left the Sea Org.
You put some weight back on.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens. You go the other way, But, and then we had 5 years between the two girls, and then the second daughter was born in 2003. And they're both adults now, and they're both successful, happy. The older one, Sabrina's married, So, we came through it okay, But
and
I
then
mean,
what type of work? Tell people what you did or what your career was, and then Karry, the type of stuff you guys do now.
so I worked San Onofre for a little over 2.5 years, and then I applied to and got into the operating engineers union. I became a heavy equipment mechanic. Then I did that for the next 25 years, and now I'm retired. And Karry's 6 years younger than me, so she's still working until she hits retirement age. But go ahead and tell them what you do.
I do elder care. I have since 94 and in my home since 2001.
So you went right out of the Sea Org into elder care. That's amazing.
The first
Yeah.
person that she cared for was my maternal grandfather.
Oh,
Yeah, my mom and her two sisters and brother talked Karry into taking care of him because they weren't having much luck with other people they were hiring.
Yeah.
I want to say something about Karry and Scott, in that I went and I stayed with them down at their place where they actually have people staying in their homes. And when I'm old and dying, that's where I want to go. Karry she is just wonderful with these people. You know, she had this 97-year-old lady, and Karry would sit down with her and feed her and talk to her. And it was just wonderful to watch Karry's relationship with her patients.
Thank you
and I
very
want to say,
much.
and my mother's in a group home now. She's going to be 93. She's 93 now. She'll be 94, and she went in a group home about a year and a half ago. And these people, the caretakers, they're like angels on earth. I mean, and you're one of them, Karry.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you're doing God's work. You know,
Yeah.
God bless
Yeah,
you.
she is. Total
Yeah,
angel, Karry is.
Thank you.
It's a certain type of person, that's for sure, and they're pretty rare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay. Well, is there anything else you wanted to say about this story before Janice has something she wanted to tell everybody?
Yeah,
We're
well,
sorry this happened to you. I just want to say we're sorry, Scott,
Yeah.
this ever happened to you. It's horrific. I don't know any other religion that would do such a thing. I mean, it's just really, really horrific. And like I said before, this was before Lisa McPherson, who's famous from dying in Clearwater in Scientology
Yeah.
Scare, where they had her locked up and dehydrated and she died. And Miscavige was involved in that, in the technical handling on that. And he avoided prosecution and all. But you know, it's just crazy of what they will do with people who are having a mental breakdown and need help. You know.
Yeah.
right.
An unimportant question, but out of curiosity, for that year that they held you captive, did they pay you?
No, no, they did not.
So they,
I'm gonna call the labor
So
board.
you were getting the benefit of their
That's
generosity. Oh my God.
Ah. Oh my God.
okay.
You know, I will say this. A friend of mine asked me one time, you know, why didn't you go get revenge on them somehow? You know, yeah, I'm surprised you didn't show up, you know, and want to kill people, you know. And I said, you know what? I knew that what they were doing was more harmful to them than it was to me. And when they would do something, the next time I saw them, I would ask them how they were doing, you know, and
Yeah.
and I could see that would make them question what they were doing, you know.
Yeah, because it certainly wasn't what Scientology was supposed to be about.
No.
Except that there were some of these processes that were run on him, Black Dianetics or whatever, that Hubbard wrote. I mean, you know, that we can't. He doesn't get a pass on this. You know that.
Right.
I know
No.
Hubbard believed he was trying to help people, but you know, some of this stuff is very damaging.
Right. But when you go into Scientology and you're an auditor, and the whole purpose in your head is to help people, not to kidnap them and drive them further into the craziness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
To me, you know, I've talked with several people. that were at the very top of Scientology, the highest trained auditors, highest trained case supervisors, the highest trained administrative personnel that were at the very top of the organization. And all of them told me that, none of that stuff was supposed to be used against a Scientologist.
Right.
It was only reserved for somebody who was like a bitter enemy that was inimical to the future of Scientology.
But even that's wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
like,
but what I found out subsequently was that it was used against Scientologists multiple times, and we all know a person that actually ordered other people to do that to other Scientologists.
Right.
Okay, Janice, you've got something you wanted to
All
mention.
right. Yes, I do. See this shirt I've been wearing? This is an original maiden voyage, 1988. I will auction this off when we do our live talking with Karry and Scott. I don't know how I'll do the auction yet. Any suggestions, put it in the comments. But so I have this shirt, and I'll even sign it if you want. And then I have a polo shirt that it's a size small. And then I have this pretty in pink Free Winds t-shirt, also a small. And then I have two extra large, again, Free Winds Maiden Voyage Originals. And I can sign these if the bidder wants it, the winning bidder. So I will auction these off, and the money can go to a charity like Aftermath Foundation or something like that to help people leave the abuse, and so I will set it up so that you can email me your bids on them, and we will do that when we do our live.
Yeah, and we'll do the live in a few weeks because Janice, you're going out of town for a few weeks. So
yes, I'm going out of town, and I'm going to Clearwater. So while I'm in Clearwater, I will do a meet and greet. I'll go to, there's 3 restaurants there, Clearwater or Downtown Pizza and Tequila and another one. Anyway, I'll be hanging out there around 5:00 next Saturday.
Right, but Janice, you realize that some people won't see this until after you've already been and gone to Clearwater. So
that's their loss.
Exactly.
Well, if I can say something here.
Yes, Scott.
Where's my finger? I say I welcome any questions. If anyone has any questions about any of this, when we do the live Q&A, Karry and I will both be here to answer any questions that anyone has.
And if they have any questions right now, they can ask in the comment section down below, and we will hold them. Plus, I know you check the questions too, Scott, right? You've done that on the previous videos, and you can answer them as well. So any questions or comments, please ask in the comment section down below. We also want to ask you all, please subscribe to our channel. The reason that we want you to subscribe is not for our benefit. It's basically tells YouTube that this is an important story and an important video to get out to other people who may not know about the abuses of Scientology. And so by getting more subscribers, it tells YouTube that this is a popular video and that we should push it out to people who have interest in cults or religion or abuses and that type of thing. So we ask that you subscribe to our channel. We know that over half of our viewers are not subscribed. So we really ask, just click that subscribe button and hit the like button and the notification button. We do a lot of great stories about Scientology and the abuses going on. And Janice has an order for you right now. What is that order, Janice?
Rock slam the like button.
That's right. And you don't want to, alienate Janice. So we salute you, Janice. The other thing I wanted to mention too, if you feel like donating to our channel, you can buy us a coffee. There's a link in the description down below, and just click on that link and you can buy Janice and I a coffee, and that money goes towards supporting the channel and keeping things going here. So we really appreciate any support that anybody wants to give us. All right, everybody. Until the next time, if you have anything else you want to say briefly, please do so. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and end the video.
We'll see you
Bon
next time.
voyage.
Yeah. See
Okay,
ya.
everybody, stick around and I'll be right back to you. Thanks very much, everybody, and we'll see you next time.